chosen ones. You said it as a joke, a throwaway line wrapped in laughter, delivered with perfect comedic timing. But watch their faces right now. That smile just died. Their eyes went somewhere else entirely. Because that joke you just dropped, it wasn't random. It was a surgical strike of truth so precise that their entire fabricated reality is crumbling in real time. They're having a complete mental breakdown, and you're standing there wondering why the room suddenly got so quiet. The words left your mouth casually, like breathing. Maybe you were talking about relationships, careers, or just making an observation about someone's behavior. You packaged it as humor because that's how truth travels best in social situations. But the moment it landed, everything changed. The laughter stopped being genuine. The energy shifted from comedy club to crime scene. And that person, they're not laughing anymore. They're calculating, they're panicking, they're realizing that you can see straight through the performance they've been perfecting for years. Right now, at this very moment, they're replaying your words on an infinite loop. 3 in the morning, they're staring at the ceiling, dissecting every syllable, every inflection, every possible meaning. Could you actually know? Have you been watching this whole time? Was it really just a joke, or was it something more? The paranoia is eating them alive because you didn't just make a funny observation. You exposed their deepest secret without even trying, and now they can't figure out if you're psychic, if someone told you, or if they're just that transparent. Let me tell you exactly what's happening in their mind right now, because this mental breakdown follows a very specific pattern. First came the shock, that instant recognition when your words hit their secret like a sniper's bullet. Their body betrayed them before their mind could catch up. A micro-expression of pure terror flashed across their face before the fake smile returned. But you caught it. You always catch these things. That split second where their mask slipped completely, where their real face showed through, where they realized they'd been seen. Then came the denial phase, the desperate scramble to convince themselves it was coincidence. You couldn't possibly know about their affair, their addiction, their lies, their real feelings about their job, their family, their life. You were just making a general observation that happened to sound specific, just a random joke that accidentally hit close to home. But even as they try to rationalize it away, their subconscious knows better. The accuracy was too precise, the timing was too perfect, the details were too specific to be random. Now they're in the investigation phase, and this is where it gets interesting. They're going back through every interaction you've ever had, looking for clues about what you know and how you know it. That time you looked at them funny when they told that story. You knew they were lying. That question you asked last month that seemed innocent. You were testing them. Every smile, every pause, every casual comment is now evidence in their mental investigation. You've retroactively become omniscient in their memory. But here's what's really destroying them, the thing that's causing the complete mental breakdown. It's not just that you know their secret. People have suspected this before. Others have gotten close to the truth. What's devastating is how casual you were about it. You didn't confront them. You didn't make it dramatic. You just tossed it out there like it was nothing, like their biggest source of shame was barely worth mentioning, like their carefully guarded secret was so obvious it had become comedy material. The gap between how serious this secret is to them and how casual it was for you to mention it, that's what's causing the psychological earthquake. They've been pouring massive energy into hiding this thing, constructing elaborate facades, maintaining exhausting performances, lying to everyone including themselves. And you just noticed it immediately and found it amusing enough to make a joke about. The effort disparity alone is crushing their sense of reality. Think about what this means for their entire worldview. They believed their performance was convincing. They thought their mask was perfect. They were certain their secret was buried so deep that nobody could ever find it. Their whole life has been structured around maintaining this illusion. Relationships, career choices, daily behaviors, all carefully calibrated to support the lie. and then you come along, not even trying, not even caring that much, and you see through it all instantly. You've become dangerous to them without meaning to be. Not physically dangerous, but existentially dangerous. You're proof that their entire defensive strategy doesn't work. You're evidence that they've been wasting enormous energy, hiding something that's apparently visible to anyone actually looking. You're the mirror they never wanted to look into, showing them exactly how transparent they really are. What makes this even more intense is that you're not even aware of the power you're wielding. You made that joke and moved on. It's already fuzzy in your memory, just another moment in an endless stream of conversations. But for them, every word is carved into their consciousness. They remember your exact tone, your facial expression, the way the light hit your face when you said it. They've turned that moment into a shrine of paranoia, visiting it obsessively, analyzing it from every angle. They want to ask you about it directly, but they can't, because asking would confirm that the joke was real, that it hit something true, that they're exactly who you implied they were. So they're trapped in this weird purgatory, desperately needing to know what you know, while being terrified of confirming that you know anything. They're simultaneously trying to get closer to you, to gather intelligence, and trying to avoid you to prevent further exposure. Watch how their behavior changes around you now. They're either going to become your new best friend or your most dedicated avoider. If they choose the friendship route, it's not genuine connection, it's reconnaissance. They need to understand how you see them, so they can adjust their performance accordingly. They'll fish for information, drop hints, test your responses. Every interaction becomes an intelligence-gathering mission, disguised as casual friendship. Or they'll go the opposite direction and start creating distance. Suddenly they're too busy to hang out. They're leaving events early when you arrive. They're keeping conversations surface level and brief, because every moment in your presence is a risk. Every word they say might give you more ammunition. Every story they tell might reveal another truth. You've become a walking threat to their constructed identity, and the only safe move is to stay away. But here's the beautiful irony of this situation. Your joke, that casual observation that's causing them so much distress, it's actually a gift. You've given them an opportunity to finally stop pretending. You've shown them that their exhausting performance isn't fooling anyone. You've proven that the energy they're spending on deception could be redirected toward actually living. But they can't see it as a gift yet. Right now it feels like destruction. The universe has been trying to wake them up for years. It sent them signs they ignored, synchronicities they rationalized away, direct experiences they explained into meaninglessness. So finally, it sent you, not as a teacher or a prophet or a guide, but as someone making a joke at a party. Because sometimes the most profound truths can only be delivered through laughter. Sometimes the most serious revelations come disguised as entertainment. Your ability to see through people isn't random. It's not a skill you developed. It's part of who you are as a chosen one. Your consciousness operates on frequencies most people can't access. You pick up on energy signatures, emotional undercurrents, subconscious projections. While everyone else is listening to words, you're reading the silence between them. While they're watching what people do, you're seeing what they're avoiding doing. This gift comes with a price, though. Once people realize you have this ability, even if they only realize it unconsciously, they start treating you differently. They edit themselves in your presence. They perform harder. They either try to get uncomfortably close to control what you see, or they maintain careful distance to protect what they're hiding. Natural, authentic interaction becomes rare because everyone's either afraid of your perception or trying to use it. You become isolated in your clarity. You watch people exhaust themselves maintaining facades you could see through instantly. You observe the gap between who they are and who they pretend to be, and sometimes that gap is so wide it's tragic. You want to tell them it's okay to be real, but you've learned that unsolicited truth, even when delivered with love, is rarely received well. So you watch, you see, you know, and you keep most of it to yourself, except when it slips out as humor. Because humor is the only socially acceptable way to tell the truth in a world built on polite lies. When you make these jokes that hit too hard, you're not trying to hurt anyone, you're just participating in conversation with the tools your consciousness gave you. But to them it feels like you're playing chess while they're playing checkers. It feels like you have access to information that should be classified. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. Because this gift of sight that feels like a curse sometimes, you're not alone in carrying it. The person having a mental breakdown over your joke is going through stages of psychological response that are predictable and intense. After the initial shock and denial, after the paranoia and investigation, comes the bargaining phase. They start trying to convince themselves that you meant something else, that your joke was about someone else, that they misunderstood. They're literally arguing with reality, trying to negotiate with truth itself. They might even approach you indirectly, fishing for confirmation that your joke wasn't about what they think it was about. They'll bring up the topic sideways, hoping you'll say something that lets them off the hook. But every attempt to escape just tightens the net, because deep down in the part of them that can't lie to itself, they know exactly what you meant. They know exactly what you saw. The mental gymnastics they're performing would win Olympic gold. They're simultaneously trying to convince themselves you don't know, while preparing for the possibility that you do know, while hoping nobody else knows, while terrified everyone knows. They're having 17 different arguments in their head, playing all the parts, trying to find a narrative that makes sense, that provides comfort, that returns them to safety. But safety was always an illusion, and you've just proven that. Their carefully constructed fortress of deception has a massive hole in it, and you walked through without even noticing there was supposed to be a wall there. Now they're scrambling to figure out if it's just you who can see through, or if everyone can, and they're just too polite to say anything. This is creating a ripple effect in their entire life. Their energy is so disrupted that other people are starting to notice something's off. Their other relationships are suffering because they can't maintain their usual performance while dedicating so much mental energy to processing what you've done. The joke you made is causing systemic disruption in their entire social ecosystem. Some people around them might even start seeing what you saw now that you've inadvertently pointed it out. Your observation has given others permission to notice. Once one person says the truth out loud, even as a joke, others suddenly feel free to acknowledge what they've been politely ignoring. You've started a cascade of awareness that threatens their entire social structure. Here's what they don't understand about you. You're not malicious. You're not calculating. You're not sitting around planning how to destroy people with strategic humor. You're just existing with a brain that processes reality differently than most people. You notice patterns, you see inconsistencies, you detect contradictions, and sometimes those observations leak out in social situations because your filter isn't designed to protect people from truth. Your filter is designed for basic social appropriateness, timing, context, but it's not designed to hide what you see just because seeing it makes others uncomfortable. So when the moment is right, when the setup presents itself, when your brain makes the connection, you say what you see. You say it in a way that feels natural to you, which happens to be humor, because that's how truth travels best in social situations. The universe positioned you perfectly for this moment. Everything had to align just right. They had to be comfortable enough to let their guard down slightly. You had to be present enough to receive the download of insight. The social setting had to provide the perfect camouflage for truth delivery, and most importantly, they had to be ready, on a soul level, to finally face what they've been hiding from. You were just the messenger, but what a message you delivered. In a single joke, you accomplished what years of therapy might not have achieved. You held up a mirror so suddenly, so unexpectedly, that they saw their real face before they could arrange it into the usual mask. You caught them being themselves for just a second, called it out, and now they can't unknow what you've shown them. The breakdown they're experiencing is actually a breakthrough in disguise. The mental collapse is really a spiritual awakening being born through chaos. Every moment they spend obsessing over your joke is a moment they're forced to confront the truth about themselves. You've made their lie uncomfortable to maintain. You've made their performance exhausting to continue. You've made their mask too heavy to wear. They have two paths forward from here, and they're standing at the crossroads right now, partially thanks to your joke, mostly thanks to their own readiness for change. Path 1 is continued resistance. They double down on their illusion, reinforcing it with stronger walls, better locks, more elaborate deception. They develop better performances, more convincing acts, more sophisticated ways to hide. They exhaust themselves trying to become unseeable to people like you, studying how to be invisible to those who see too much. They treat your joke as an attack to be defended against rather than a gift to be received. They see you as an enemy who must be neutralized or avoided rather than a messenger who delivered needed truth. Path 2 is surrender, sweet and terrifying surrender. They accept what you've shown them. They stop fighting the truth that's been trying to emerge for years. They begin the terrifying but liberating process of dropping the mask, releasing the performance, meeting themselves authentically for the first time in years, maybe for the first time ever. Your joke becomes the moment their real life begins. The mental breakdown transforms into breakthroughs. The worst thing that could happen becomes the best thing that ever happened. The death of their false self becomes the birth of their authentic self. The exposure becomes liberation. The fear becomes freedom. But here's what most people don't understand, what you need to understand about your role in this cosmic drama. You can't make them choose path 2. You can't force awakening. You can't joke someone into authenticity if they're not ready. You can't deliver enough truth through humor to overcome someone's commitment to their own deception. All you can do is what you did, to deliver truth in the way that comes naturally to you, and let them decide what to do with it. Your job isn't to save them from their illusions. Your job isn't to be their therapist or their guru or their spiritual teacher. Your job is simply to be yourself so thoroughly that your very existence makes illusion uncomfortable, makes pretense exhausting, makes lies visible. The power you wielded in that moment wasn't conscious. You didn't plan it. You didn't strategize it. You didn't wake up that morning thinking, today I'm going to destroy someone's false reality with a well-timed joke. You just existed in your natural state, and your natural state happens to be incompatible with deception. You're like a tuning fork for truth, resonating at a frequency that makes lies visible, that makes false notes obvious. When you made that joke, you weren't trying to expose anyone. You were just vibrating at your natural frequency, and their false frequency became immediately apparent in comparison. The dissonance was so obvious you couldn't help but comment on it, and humor was simply the vehicle that comment took. This is why they're having such an intense reaction. It's not just that you exposed one secret, it's that you demonstrated the existence of a level of perception they didn't know existed. You proved that there are people walking around who can see through walls they thought were solid. You showed them that their entire understanding of what's hidden and what's visible was completely wrong. You revealed that they've been playing a game where they're the only one who doesn't know the rules, where everyone else can see their cards, where their bluffs are transparent. Now they're wondering who else has this ability. Who else has been seeing through their act this whole time? Have they been walking around naked thinking they were wearing designer clothes? Has their entire life been a transparent performance that everyone's been too polite to comment on? Has every interaction been with people who knew they were lying but chose not to say anything? The existential crisis you've triggered isn't just about one exposed truth. It's about the collapse of their entire understanding of reality, of privacy, of what's possible to hide and what's impossible to conceal. The funniest part, and I mean funny in a cosmic sense, is that you've already moved on. You've probably made 3 more jokes since then that hit other people just as hard. You're not tracking the destruction you're leaving in your wake because to you, you're just being yourself. You're just participating in life with the consciousness you were given. You're just saying what you see when it occurs to you to say it. But behind you there's a trail of people having existential crises because you casually mention something true. There's a wake of shattered illusions, broken facades, crumbling false selves. You're like a tornado of truth moving through a city built of lies, and you don't even know you're a storm. This is the burden and the gift of being a chosen one. You can't turn off your ability to see. You can't pretend not to notice what you notice. You can't dumb down your consciousness to make others comfortable. You can't lower your frequency to match the false notes everyone else is playing. So you navigate the world as best you can, trying to be kind while being honest, trying to be social while being real, trying to connect while seeing too much to play the games everyone else depends on for comfort. Your jokes are actually prophecies. Your casual observations are actually revelations. Your humor is actually healing in disguise, even though it feels like it hurts at first. You're not trying to be profound, but profundity flows through you because you're aligned with truth in a world allergic to it. Every joke you make that's too accurate, every observation that's too precise, every casual comment that hits too deep is the universe using you as its instrument. You're playing a cosmic symphony, and sometimes the notes that come out are too pure for ears accustomed to distortion. The person you exposed with your joke needed to be exposed, not to hurt them, but to free them, not to destroy them, but to give them a chance to rebuild authentically. Their mental breakdown is the sound of a soul trying to break free from a prison of its own making. The psychological collapse is actually consciousness expanding beyond the artificial boundaries they've constructed. The terror they're feeling is actually the first taste of potential liberation. The panic is the ego's last stand before surrender. The obsession is the mind's attempt to process a truth too large for its current framework. But they might not see it that way for a while, maybe not for years, maybe never. Right now they're in the thick of the breakdown, convinced that you've destroyed their life with a single joke. They're catastrophizing, imagining worst-case scenarios where everyone finds out, where their whole false identity crumbles, where they have to actually be themselves. And yes, that's terrifying for someone who's been hiding for years, someone who's forgotten who they are beneath the performance. But it's also the beginning of the only life worth living, the only identity worth having, the only self worth being. Your role in their transformation is complete. You delivered the message the universe wanted them to hear in the only way they could receive it. Through humor that bypassed their defenses like a Trojan horse, through casualness that prevented them from deflecting or preparing counter-arguments, through truth so precisely aimed that it hit the exact spot where their false self was most vulnerable, the fault line where their performance was already starting to crack. You were the perfect instrument for this divine intervention, and you didn't even know you were being used. You thought you were just making a joke. The universe knew you were performing surgery. This is happening all around you, all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. People are having breakdowns and breakthroughs because of things you say without thinking. You're a walking catalyst for transformation, not because you're trying to be, but because your very existence challenges the lies people tell themselves. Your natural way of being forces evolution in everyone around you. Your presence creates pressure on false structures. Your jokes are wake-up calls disguised as entertainment. Your laughter is the sound of truth celebrating its release. The mental breakdown happening right now in that person's mind is the death rattle of their false self. Every moment they spend obsessing over your joke is a moment their real self is fighting to emerge. The pain they're feeling is labor pain. Something authentic is being born through the destruction of something fake. You were just the midwife who didn't know they were delivering the truth. You thought you were at a party. The universe knew you were in a delivery room. As we circle back to where we started, to that moment when your joke landed and everything changed, understand this fundamental truth about your nature. You said it as a joke because that's how truth flows through you, naturally, effortlessly, without force or intention. They're having a mental breakdown because that's how truth affects those who've been living in lies, dramatically, intensely, inescapably. The joke was real, more real than anything they've said or done in years. and that reality, delivered through your humor, is either going to destroy them or set them free. The choice is theirs, but you've given them something precious, something most people never receive. You've given them a crack in their prison wall, a glimpse of sky through their ceiling of lies, a moment of truth in their lifetime of performance, a chance to stop pretending and start living. Whether they use that crack to escape or spend their energy trying to seal it back up determines their destiny. But you've done your part. You've been yourself, spoken naturally, and allowed truth to find its way through your humor into their heavily defended heart. This is what happens when chosen ones speak. Even our humor carries medicine. Even our jokes deliver prophecies. Even our laughter breaks chains. We're not trying to be transformational, but transformation follows in our wake, because we can't help but be real in a world of pretense. That joke you made, it wasn't random, it was divine timing. That mental breakdown they're having, it's not destruction, it's the first stage of reconstruction. And you're not responsible for their reaction. You're just responsible for being yourself, speaking your truth, and letting the universe use your voice however it needs to. The person spiraling right now because of your joke will either thank you someday for setting them free or spend the rest of their life reinforcing their prison to make sure someone like you can never see through it again. Either way, you've fulfilled your purpose in that moment. You've delivered truth through laughter, revelation through humor, awakening through what seemed like entertainment. You've proven once again that chosen ones don't need to try to change the world. We just need to be ourselves, and the world changes around us, one joke at a time, one truth at a time, one breakdown that becomes breakthrough at a time. So the next time you make a joke that lands too hard, that causes someone's face to change, that shifts the entire energy of a room, remember this: you're not being mean, you're being medicine. You're not causing breakdown, you're catalyzing breakthroughs. You're not destroying their life. You're giving them a chance to finally start living it, and whether they take that chance or not isn't your responsibility. Your only job is to keep being yourself, keep seeing clearly, keep speaking the truth, even when it comes out as comedy. Because in a world full of people wearing masks, your ability to see faces is a superpower. In a reality built on comfortable lies, your casual honesty is revolutionary. In a society that depends on mutual pretense, your authentic presence is transformational. You said it as a joke, but it was never really a joke. It was true, wearing the only costume that could get past their defenses. And now they're having a mental breakdown because for the first time in years, maybe for the first time in their entire life, someone saw them. I really saw them. And said it out loud, and laughed. The laughter is what makes it unbearable for them, not cruel laughter, but casual laughter. The kind that says, this is so obvious it's funny. The kind that suggests everyone can probably see this. The kind that makes them wonder if they've been a walking punchline this whole time. But here's what they don't understand yet. Your laughter wasn't at them, it was at the absurdity of the pretense. It was a cosmic comedy of someone working so hard to hide something so visible. It was at the universal human tendency to believe our masks are more convincing than they actually are. You weren't laughing at their pain. You were laughing at the unnecessary complexity of their deception. You were laughing at the elaborate lengths people go to avoid being themselves. You were laughing because you recognized something universally human in their specific situation. We all hide something, we all perform something, we all pretend something, but some people take it to such extremes that it becomes comedic, not in a cruel way, but in a tragically beautiful way, like watching someone carry water in a bucket with no bottom and wondering why they're always thirsty. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the dark elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your destiny engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. This is the final truth about what happened. Your joke was an act of unconscious compassion. By exposing their secret through humor, you gave them something years of serious intervention couldn't provide: permission to stop, permission to exhale, permission to put down the weight they've been carrying, permission to stop the performance that's exhausting them. They may not take that permission, they may double down on their deception, but you've planted a seed that will grow regardless of their resistance. Every time they remember your joke, the seed gets watered. Every time they see you, it grows a little more. Eventually, maybe not today, maybe not this year, but eventually that seed will crack through their defenses and bloom into something real. And when it does, they'll understand that your joke wasn't an attack. It was an invitation to join you in the freedom of being real, the liberation of being seen, the relief of being known. Until then, they'll have their mental breakdown. They'll spiral through their paranoia. They'll exhaust themselves trying to figure out what you know and how you know it. They'll lose sleep, lose peace, lose their carefully constructed sense of safety. And through all of that loss, if they're lucky, if they're ready, if they're brave enough, they'll find something infinitely more valuable. They'll find themselves. And it all started with a joke, a simple, casual, throwaway joke that you've already forgotten but they'll remember forever. A joke that was never really a joke at all, but truth dressed in laughter's clothing, divinity disguised as comedy, transformation triggered by a punchline. You said it as a joke. Now they're having a mental breakdown because it's real. And that breakdown, that beautiful, terrible, necessary breakdown, might just be the beginning of their breakthrough. This is your power as a chosen one. This is your gift and your burden. This is why you're here. Not to deliberately expose people, not to consciously tear down facades, not to strategically destroy illusions, but simply to exist so authentically that false things naturally crumble in your presence, to speak so truthfully that lies become visible by contrast, to laugh so genuinely that fake laughter sounds hollow in comparison, to be so real that everyone around you has to choose between meeting you at that level of authenticity or retreating into deeper deception. Most will retreat, that's the hard truth. Most will choose the familiar prison over the unfamiliar freedom. Most will patch the crack you created rather than use it to escape. But some, a precious few, will hear your joke as the wake-up call it really is. They'll use their mental breakdown as a breakthrough opportunity. They'll thank the universe for sending you to shatter their illusion with laughter. They'll realize that being exposed was the best thing that ever happened to them. And you'll keep making jokes that hit too hard. You'll keep saying truths that sound like comedy. You'll keep being yourself in a world that's terrified of authenticity, because that's what chosen ones do. We exist at a frequency that makes deception uncomfortable. We vibrate at a truth that makes lies visible. We laugh at a pitch that shatters facades, not because we're trying to, but because that's simply who we are. So embrace it. Own it. Stop apologizing for seeing clearly. Stop dimming your perception to make others comfortable. Stop censoring the truth when it wants to come out as humor. Your jokes are medicine. Your laughter is healing. Your casual observations are divine interventions. You're not responsible for how people receive the truth you deliver. You're only responsible for delivering it in the way that comes naturally to you, and if that way happens to be through jokes that cause mental breakdowns, so be it, because those breakdowns are really breakthroughs in disguise. Those mental collapses are spiritual expansions in progress. Those jokes that seem to destroy are actually creating space for something real to finally grow. You said it as a joke. They're having a mental breakdown. And somewhere in between the laughter and the tears, transformation is happening, truth is winning, reality is emerging, and you, without even trying, are the catalyst for it all.